Alright, so this is the co-teaching plan by Jordie Hayes and Libbey Jones. So for the stages of co-teaching, we have pre-lesson planning, which goes before the instruction, which is during, and then assessment, which would be following. And then evaluating reflection goes at the very end, and that's something that you and your co-teacher can do to reflect on all of the instruction that you've been giving together. So as far as the pre-lesson planning, you should always make sure that you have a cohesive lesson plan, differentiated lesson planning, and then reteaching plans, as well as determine the lesson goals, so determining the I can statements, as well as the level mastery scale. So what is a cohesive lesson plan? It should include a title, basic info about the grade, class size, length of the lesson. Should include Common Core standards, goals and objectives, I can statements, materials and teacher prep, as well as step-by-step instruction, plans, and then how students will be assessed, differentiated instructions, and then plans for reteaching or extension depending on what you need to follow up with. So what is differentiated instruction? Differentiation means tailoring instruction to meet individual needs of students. No matter where you teach and what classroom you have, you're always going to have students that differ as far as their background knowledge or the experiences that they're walking in from. And so differentiation aims to hit all of those students and meet the needs of all of those students in their own individual ways. Determining lesson goals looks like finding the I can statements and making sure those are posted for students to see, making sure they're discussed with the class. And some of those examples can look like I can successfully add double-digit numbers, or I can successfully explain the difference between similes and metaphors. And then determining what the level mastery scale is going to look like in your classroom is also important. You're going to want to work with your co-teacher and realize that you're going to work with a variety of students that have different skills and needs. And so therefore your teaching to 80%, 60%, or even 40% mastery is going to depend on the individual goals of each student. And you must work with your co-teacher in order to determine what the most essential elements of each lesson are for each child's learning needs. As far as instruction goes, you're going to want to have a collaborative classroom environment, meaning both names are on the classroom board, you share materials and space, both teachers are going to work together to best reach all students, and then both teachers start and end the lesson together, ideally. During the lessons, you're going to have smooth transitions, show evidence of co-teaching and planning, involve classroom management, so that means set up expectations and rules in the beginning of the year, and therefore that should become second nature and kind of routine within the class after that. Evidence of differentiated teaching might look like including technology, but it definitely looks like meeting a large range of learning needs and making sure you tailor to all of the needs of all the students in the best way that you can. Both teachers should be engaged in appropriate behavioral management strategies, meaning they should be on the same page when it comes to behavior management. They should feel comfortable with carrying out the strategies that they've agreed to carry out. They need to be engaged and consistent in their approach, and also have designed a behavior management plan before any issues may arise in the actual classroom. And then making sure when you're co-teaching you use words like we and our to demonstrate true collaboration and shared responsibility within the classroom, and it's not just one teacher doing all of the work. So there's 5 co-teaching approaches that we're going to talk about. There's the one teach, one support method. In this method, one teacher is leading instruction while the other one provides support to students who need additional help or enrichment. They're going to also gather observations or provide classroom management in whatever way they seem fit. Both teachers know the distinctive role they're carrying out in the lesson, and this is often used when teaching new material or when one teacher has a greater content experience than the other. So in this video, see Jordie would be the primary teacher in this one, and I would be the support person from the camera's perspective. She's working one-on-one with the students, She's leading the instruction, and I'm just kind of sitting in the back of the classroom looking to see if there's someone who maybe isn't understanding or if there's any way I need to interject or provide additional help to the students. The second one is teaching or station teaching. So in this sort of method, you're going to have both teachers working with small groups of children and rotate among those stations. This is an efficient use of time that allows students to experience multiple related instructional activities. And with this teaching method, the teachers really must communicate in order to coordinate the tasks and timing at the different stations to support the learning objectives. Number 3 is team teaching. So in this method, both teachers are kind of playing off of one another, sharing the instruction role. So they're both kind of in front of the classroom, engaged in co-teaching, kind of playing off of one another and working together throughout the lesson. And it's really evident that the teachers planned this together in order to integrate both of their roles within the lesson. So this is what it would probably look like if Jordie and I were team teaching. We'd both be in the front of the class sharing the instructional role. Number 4 is alternative teaching. So this is where one teacher instructs the large group while the other works with a smaller group on different content tasks. And so this is really good for enrichment or remediation if there's any sort of students that need extra help or extra instruction different from the main class. Parallel teaching is the last one, and that's where you're going to split the class into two smaller groups with each co-teacher responsible for implementing the same lesson to the group. And this sort of plan really requires good communication and planning skills to be done before the lesson in order to develop a good parallel structure to make sure both groups are receiving the same quality of instruction. After you teach, there should always be some sort of assessment plan that you have. A great tool to use when working in a co-teaching classroom is Illuminate. It can help you create assessments, keep all of your data in one place, and really make positive decisions when regarding assessment plans for your co-taught classroom. Keeping a grade book is also really important to focus on with your co-teacher because you need to make sure you're on the same page with the grading. Some questions that you should discuss with your co-teacher is, do you have a makeup policy? Is your grading policy explicit? Making sure that you're grading on something that shows student progress in areas beyond the content, and then so on and so forth, and making sure that you have agreed upon how your grades will be determined for all students, and making sure you agree on any modifications to grading with the students and their families. And then evaluation and reflection, you should always make sure that you're working on making your co-teaching stronger. So with your co-teacher, you should always make sure you work together to make sure you're identifying strengths and weaknesses within your plan. It's important to reflect on your teaching, ask yourselves if you're both seen as equals in the classroom, and just really sit down making sure that you're sharing responsibilities equally and you're teaching all students and hitting all students with and without disabilities. So it's really good to just sit down professionally with your co-teacher either at the end of the day or at the end of any sort of unit and make sure you're hitting all the objectives that you want to. And that's all we have for you. Thank you.